Hello ladies, men, and non-binary friends. I hope you're doing well now that we've overcome the passing of the Devil's Century. I don't know what your coping mechanisms were, but I found it comforting to return to a simpler time, and that was the world of early 2000s Dreamworks. Today we're talking about Ice Age. Now, before the empire of franchise films that followed it, the original Ice Age stood pretty well on its own. In fact, this movie doesn't really seem like it would need a sequel, but because it was so good, the executives insisted that the studio create more. You know, for the kids. Don't get me wrong, I still enjoyed the sequels, but the original Ice Age stands alone as one of the best movies of my childhood. I feel like I say this about a lot of films that I discuss on here, but I forgot how good this movie was. Ice Age has a cast voiced primarily by comedians. Ray Romano voices Manny, John Leguizamo voices Sid, Dennis Leary voices Diego, and they even got Jack Black to be in this movie. Despite its comedy-heavy cast, the original Ice Age is dominated by genuine moments of storytelling and connection. The comedy doesn't seem forced or overindulgent. In fact, most of the comedic bits are just sarcastic comments said in passing. There's obviously a bit of over-the-top physical humor from Sid and Scrat for the kids, but it makes up far less time in the movie than you would think. Ice Age isn't just good for a kids movie, it's good for a movie. It's almost weird thinking about the sequels next to this movie because the characters seem way more cheesy and over the top in these ones, and I don't know, normal characters in this one. Let's get started with the big guy, the head honcho, the man-knee of the hour. Manny's moral dilemma is really at the center of why this movie is so special. Some background: Manny's family, his wife and child, were killed at the hands of humans in front of him. Manny alone survived, and he now lives his life as a hermit. He doesn't have any friends, and he doesn't really want any either. He keeps his interactions with other creatures limited, and is frankly annoyed when he crosses paths with them. We don't learn about Manny's past until about halfway through the movie. When we discover this, it makes the moral dilemma that he has faced much more apparent, and the act of saving the baby much more selfless. Manny faces the moral dilemma of helping a child of his enemies, a child that will probably grow up to be a predator and hunt him or creatures like him. I mean, it's possible that the kid will become a vegetarian, but it seems unlikely. They are literally Neanderthals. He comes face to face with this human woman who wants nothing more than to make sure her baby is safe. Having lost a child himself, Manny knows how scary and painful that can be. Not as a mammoth, but as a father. He briefly connects with her, she drifts away into the river, presumably to die, and Manny instantly regrets his decision to help. He leaves the child behind, all of his painful memories bubbling to the surface, and only agrees to bring the child back to its people when he discovers how interested Diego is in the baby. Manny knows that this child hasn't done anything wrong. The child doesn't Thanks, Mom. Manny knows that the child hasn't done anything wrong. This child doesn't deserve to die. Eventually, Manny and the child bond. It's clear that Manny enjoyed being a father and that these paternal instincts are very natural to him. Seeing this incredibly happy child sparks hope in him. We see him smile for the first time when the child smiles. Manny is breaking down his own walls by allowing himself to connect and to love again. We see growth from Manny after experiencing something so painful. He finds a new appreciation for life and friendship at the forefront of his connection and love for this kid. Not to mention the connection between the two fathers at the end of the movie. When Manny returns the kid to his father, there's love and relief and tears of joy in his eyes. There's finally a mutual respect between the man and Manny, not as predator versus prey, but as two fathers. Manny gives this man what he could never get back: his family. And Manny does this knowing that the humans were responsible for killing his own. I mean, if that ain't growth, I don't know what is. Weirdly enough, Sid is the humanity of the story. As crazy as this is, Sid is the heart of the morality in Ice Age. He thinks in a very positive, optimistic way when Diego and Manny are so cynical. It's important to have Sid as a main character not only to act as comedic relief, but to balance out Manny and Diego's cynicism. Manny and Diego are both isolated characters who act in their own self-interest for most of the movie. Sid is the only one who thinks about someone other than himself for almost the entire film. The only time Sid acts in the name of self-preservation and survival is when his life is literally at stake. He doesn't really plan ahead to avoid disaster. Disaster just kind of finds him, and then he flails until he can get some help. Honestly, me. Sid is the first character to suggest bringing the baby back to its people after Manny rejects his call to action. We learn at the beginning of the movie that Sid has been repeatedly left behind by his family on the morning of each great migration every year. Sid knows what it's like to be alone and forgotten. His trauma is what sparks his good deed. Sid is actually really helpful in this movie. He retrieves the melon from the Dodo army so the baby has something to eat. He creates a fire for them to keep warm and becomes Lord of the Flame. He acts as a distraction to keep the tigers away from the baby, essentially posing as live bait to make sure the child is unharmed. He also saves the kid from being attacked by the scrawny saber, voiced by Jack Black, by booty kicking him into a tree trunk. I will say his character kind of gets assassinated in the following films as he almost exclusively acts as the dumb sidekick for comedic relief. When in actuality, Sid is so much more than that. Sid is often mocked for his overly energetic and outgoing nature. He might be a bit annoying, but he means well and genuinely has a lot to offer to the team. His vanity is primarily to combat the sarcastic jabs that Diego and Manny and many others take at him. He even gets some jabs in himself once his confidence is built up. Sid doesn't really grow up or change very much in this movie because he doesn't have to. He's already a pretty good dude. He just needs to respect people's space and shut up sometimes. Now, this is another really interesting dilemma. Self-preservation versus love and acceptance. It's clear from the beginning that Diego has to continuously prove his worth to this pack. This is not the sort of familial pack based in love and trust. There isn't a lot of talk about feelings or appreciation. It's about survival and what you can do for me. When Diego is tasked with retrieving the baby for Soto's revenge kill, he is checked in on by a few other tigers. Their tone is threatening and condescending. These other tigers seem a little too thrilled that Diego's position has been threatened. I mean, this is some mafia. Diego knows if he doesn't bring back the baby, he will be killed in its place. Pretty cutthroat stuff, not to put too fine a point on it. If Diego doesn't deliver, he is removed. Are the saber-toothed tigers fucking gangsters? I'm seriously just realizing this. For almost the entire movie, Diego's objective is clear. He has no emotional attachment to these other characters. He's acting solely out of self-preservation. He has no problem lying to them, or even letting them die if it means he gets his way. When Diego meets Sid, he immediately threatens to kill him after the mission, saying Sid won't always have Manny to look after him, implying that Diego is going to kill Sid once he's out from under Manny's watchful eye. But then, Manny risks his life to save Diego from being swallowed up by lava. Upon reflection, Diego knows that he can't turn his back on Manny and Sid. They are the only living things who have actually cared about him. If the tables were turned and Diego was in trouble, would his pack do the same? Absolutely not. He realizes this and wakes the fuck up to what is right in front of him. What is he fighting for? Why is he risking his life and his only real friendships to protect the pack that would not do the same for him? To top it all off, the kid finally trusts him, falling into his arms when he finally learns to walk, and Diego's heart melts. This is the point where Diego starts questioning his decision. His fear of being killed by his pack is not worth the guilt he'll feel turning against his new friends. He does the right thing and devises a plan to take down the pack. There's an almost cult-like mentality of the Sabers. Like, if you're not with us, then you're against us and you need to die. Or Mafia, now that I'm thinking about it more. Moving on. Now, Soto and Manny are the two leaders of the rival herds, we'll call them. They act as foils for each other and have suffered the exact same fate, losing their family. But they take different methods to receive closure. Soto seeks revenge. Manny chooses to close himself off from the world and avoid connection entirely. Manny does not try to actively hurt anyone around him. He's just trying to live his life with as little disturbance as possible. Soto is consumed by his thirst for revenge, and this is ultimately his downfall. Neither method is particularly healthy, but we actually see Manny overcoming his fears of connection and forming friendships with Diego, Sid, and the baby. Manny's growth leads to his survival. And with Soto, his undying allegiance to bitterness and revenge is his downfall. Damn it, this movie is so good. This movie builds tension so well, especially in the scenes with the Sabers. I still get chills whenever Soto says, "Bring me that baby alive."
Diego, bring me that baby alive. If I'm gonna enjoy my revenge, I want it to be fresh.
He is such an incredible villain. His vengeful behavior is justified to a point. He wants retribution for the wrongdoings against his pack, but it goes too far when he plans to harm the innocent. This child has done nothing wrong, but he knows it will hurt the humans more if he kills the child than if he kills one of the adults. It's so fucking sinister. There are a lot of reasons to like this movie. It's under 2 hours, it has a rounded plot, vibrant characters, fantastic dialogue, great lessons, and it's unique. It's an original story. Movies like Ice Age are so refreshing because they don't rely on your allegiance to a franchise to bring in audiences. It has to stand on its own 2 feet as a good story to bring in viewers. Don't get me wrong, I love franchises, but it's nice to see a story once in a while that's just new. That's also what makes some of the sequels kind of disappointing. I did actually really enjoy Dawn of the Dinosaurs, but not for the same reasons that I liked the original Ice Age. I'm not sure I could make a video about anything in that film except Buck. I mean, that guy had some secrets. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed doing these little one-off videos of my favorite childhood films. It's been really fun revisiting these stories and getting excited about them in a new way. That being said, I'll probably only do 1 or 2 more of these because once the new Marvel shows come out, those will probably consume my life. I can't wait to share all my thoughts about those. I hope you're all having a lovely 2021. Subscribe to my kingdom if you'd like to stick around. Much love to you all. Take care of yourselves. Bye!